Hi everybody and welcome to my Unruly Housewife channel. Today I am going to be showing you how to make these dragon's eye pencil sharpeners, and I hope you like these. They're just so much fun to make. Big shout out to Geek Lightful, Mimi over at Geek Lightful. She made sushi on a metal pencil sharpener, and that sparked up the idea in me because I never thought about it. Metal pencil sharpeners can go in the oven. Awesome. That means we can decorate them with polymer clay. Anyway, so let's get these out of the way and I'll start showing you what to do. The first thing we need, obviously, to make a dragon's eye is the actual eye itself. And I make these by painting the back of cabochons. This is a cabochon. It's just a little glass nugget. I think some people use the nuggets that you get in the bottom of flowers, stuff like that, vases of flowers, but I haven't used those. The ones I'm using are actual, craft ones. These are 12mm wide, and you start off by painting on. This one's 16mm, so we're lucky we've got a big one to look at. I've used it for demonstration purposes. And first thing you do is you paint on a big triangle on the back. Now I've used scrap clay to hold it, so that's an easier way of holding it. And you simply paint on whatever shape you want the pupil to be, and in my case I've done this rather dramatic black point. Let me see. If you look from the front, you can see that any decoration we put to make this eye look realistic has to go behind that black point, because that's the pupil. So do that first, let it dry, and then follow up with the next stage. And the next stage is to get some more acrylic paint, this time in gold, and sort of outline the black triangle and do a few random dots. And I don't know how easy it is to see that, but I think you can. You then let those dry, and you've got to be really quite patient. You choose a colour of your choice. These are my acrylic paints. I've done some of them with mixed green with the gold, some I've mixed red with the gold. Make a colour of your choice and then paint the whole back, or in fact I blobbed it on with my finger, the whole back with the metallic colour, and that combined with the black V and the little gold spots creates really a very pleasing eyeball effect. So that's how to make the eyes. The next thing we need to make is the eye socket and fit it with the pencil sharpener. Now to do this, you take a blob of clay that's about 1.5 times the size of the metal pencil sharpener, and obviously you condition the clay, you mess around with it until it's nice and bendy and warm, and then you sort of flatten it, shape it into an eye shape ready to push in the pencil sharpener. Do not push the blade side into the clay or you will never sharpen a pencil with it. Use the other side, press it into the clay, and I'm using a tile here, but I've got paper on it because I don't want you to get the glare. Just bring that around the sides of the pencil sharpener. Quite nervous about doing this on camera because it's fiddly and difficult, but I'm soldering on. And just fold that around, squish it in, and make your eye shape. I think that's kind of coming together. Just push that over there. We want it to be secure. Push that end in. This bit here, oh no, we've covered the hole. Don't worry, we're going to cut that off, and we'll do it from there. We can see what we're doing. Cut that end off like that. If there's any little bit left, just go around with a knife. That shouldn't have been left really. There you go. And let's put a pencil into the pencil sharpener. That way we know that whatever we're finished with, we'll be able to use it with a pencil. And I'm just going to fold that end round now, round the pencil a little bit, and just shape my eye. Now, there's at least some sort of air bubbles there, which isn't really great. Let's soldier on. Once I've shaped my eye, and you can fiddle around with this to your heart's content, I'm going to get a cabochon, a clean one, not the one I've painted. Let's face it, you would buy more than one, they're in packets. I'm going to put it in on the eye and I'm going to see how it looks. Now, I think that eye's a little bit too long for the cabochon. You want plenty of room around it to decorate, but this has gone a bit berserk. So I'm going to trim this part here. I'm just going to trim that off a bit because it's too much. Everything's about proportion. It's better to start with too much though, isn't it? Because if you've got too little, it's harder to add it in. So I'm going to use various strategies for shaping this eye. There. I find that quite pleasing. And when I take out the pencil, just trim this around a little bit. And I'm going to put a sausage of clay over the end just to neaten up that hole. I used to say snake of clay. Then somebody asked me, please stop saying snakes, I'm terrified of them. So I'm saying sausage, but if you leave your comments down below if you want to inform me that you're terrified of sausages, because you know my life's not complicated enough. Okay, so what's going on here with our pencil? Does it still fit? Yes, it does. Fits right in. Put the little sausage of clay around and snap it off. Now you're going to be able to spend a lot more time doing this than me because I'm trying to make a video, but I just want to do this because I think it just neatens it up a bit. There you go. It's a little bit neater. Once you've done that, I'll put it out all the way. Once you've done that, make sure it's not too bulky and mad. You can push your cabochon in to the clay. I don't want to bake it with the cabochon in, but I want it in for the time being. So that tapping on there. Look out for this. That's strayed now over the area where the blade is emptying, so I want to just trim that back. Just keep an eye on things really, make sure that everything looks like it's clear enough to use. Okay, once you've got to that stage, then as I say, get your cabochon, position it into the clay. I like to put it a little bit more up the fat end and just press it into place. Now we can see now that that's going to look good. It's all ready to go. And I will leave it in there whilst I texture the edges of this. I've got a little tool which I'm going to make a tutorial for, I think, but you can use anything that's got a good texture for a dragon skin, or you know, at a push you could just do it with a toothbrush just for fun. We're trying to add interest. I'm lucky I've made this little tool so I can, although I don't appear to be able to use it, and I can make little scales all the way around. And if you want to, you can continue those scales up onto the top a little bit, because it's all about decoration. And you would go all around and do that until your eye looks ready for the oven. If you want to use, obviously I'd do the whole thing. If you want to use mica powders at this stage, because I'm going to bake this, you need to put those on now for this part of the dragon, and I just rub a little bit onto my finger and just catch the highlights of the clay. This looks particularly good with black clay. I'm going to use it on this one to show you. If you don't want to use mica powders, I've got another technique for this, which I will show you. Oops, that's no good to you there, is it? Okay. So, having done all that and got it all ready, we can then flip out the glass cabochon. I like to do this. You can leave it in just to bake it, but you're going to need it to flip it out at some point, so why not do it now? Let's tidy that up. Flip out the glass cabochon and pop that into the oven for 15 minutes at a temperature recommended by the clay manufacturer. Okay, let's put that out of the way and just clean my hands a little. After that's been in the eye, I'm reading notes, can you tell? After that's been in the oven for 15 minutes, you can then end up with something like this, or you will end up with something like this. By the way, whichever way you do your eye, it depends which way you want to use your pencil sharpener. I've done left and right-handed ones. I don't even know if other people use them different ways. I'm left-handed. Everything I do is doolally. Okay, so this is the pencil sharpener as we've already baked it for 15 minutes. It's ready to go and it's ready to decorate. I've got my little eye that I made somewhere. I can't see it. Do you know, always keep an eye on your eye. And I'm going to pop that in there. Now, you don't need to do this actually, but I'm going to, just for my own sanity while I'm showing you this. I'm going to pop a little bit of Lisa Pavelka Bake and Bond. I beg your pardon, Polybonder, Lisa Pavelka Polybonder. Just put a little dot of it in here. I don't want to put it right on the eye paint. I'm just going to put it on a little dots on either side of the hole. And I'm going to pop the eye in because I don't want it moving about while I'm demonstrating what to do next. It's possible you could use nothing for it, a little bit of clay maybe just to hold it in place. But I find that Polybonder is perfect. So if you've got some, use it. If you haven't, busk. Okay, use it to think of your own ideas. Just a little blob of clay, most likely to stop it wobbling. Right, so that's in there now, and now we can decorate our eye. Because this is partially baked, we are going to need, let's move some of this nonsense out of the way here. Because it's partially baked, we're going to need something to fix it together with the raw clay. And for this, you can use liquid Fimo or Bake and Bond, the hilariously named thing that sounds like it bonds bacon. Bake and Bond or liquid Fimo are equally useful in this regard. And just want to get a little bit of that. Somebody told me you can clean liquid Fimo out of brushes with alcohol, rubbing alcohol. So that's, oh, that brush is a bit rubbish. So that's a good one. I still haven't tried. I just have exclusive liquid Fimo brushes because you can't wash them out with soap and water or anything. So there's your eye, and you might want to do any number of things to decorate your eye. What I did with these was just put on some curly bits and some little dots with holes in. I'm not going to use purple to decorate this eye. I'm going to use gold just so you can see what I'm doing. And what you want to do is, I'm going to turn this so I can see because I'm not that good. Paint some liquid Fimo on around the eye in the sort of shape you think you'll be decorating it. You can do it more delicately than this. I've gone a bit crackers. Sometimes I apply the liquid to the sausage sausage and or snake itself, which is probably neater, but I'm hurrying today. Make that, see if it looks nice, see if it fits with the size of the eye. Is it too fat, is it too thin? That's probably a little bit fat. Keep rolling it out until it looks the way you want it to look. Now you might have entirely different ways to decorate the eye than I do, but I'm going for a kind of weird fantasy, slightly Egyptian look. I curl up the end, elongate the eye. It's almost like being a makeup artist, this. And then curl up the other end. And if you haven't put any anything in to glue the eye into place, you don't need to worry, because this is going to fix the eye into place because it's overlapping where the eye is. That looks a bit silly like that, doesn't it? It's not very good, but that's okay. It's okay because we're going to change it basically. So maybe on the inside I wouldn't bother to curve this one, but on the outside I would bother to curve that one. And just keep playing around with designs and ideas. You can take it back off so easily that you can just try out whatever you want. That's probably a bit too long, isn't it? Clay tools there, my nails. Let's try this again. Yeah, I mean, some people would have drawn this before they started. As I've mentioned before, I'm a bit random. I'm not very good at designing things properly. Okay, so let's put that there. And as you can see, like, a design is starting to emerge. And then what I do after that, after I've rolled it about a bit on the desk, is I would get little pieces of clay like this. Just if you make a sausage and chop it up into equal lengths, you will get equal sized dots, you know. It helps you to measure the clay, and just roll little dots like that and put them along the top and the bottom. That's kind of big, but we'll continue on because we're pushed for time. Just put the little dots along the top and the bottom, and then to add a bit of interest to that, I would use my dotting tool. Let's poke each one in the middle and hope it doesn't come off. So there you go. In fact, I'll probably use the fat end. There you go. And I would continue that along the top and the bottom until it looks the way that you want it to look. Now, the other thing you can do to make it more interesting and prettier is you can add a bit of bling. And I might add, for instance, this. Now, you want to make sure that your bling is not going to outshine the eye. You don't want to detract from the eye. So it's good to use a colour that's similar to what you're working with. I've got this piece here. I wonder if I can make that work. I haven't really finished this properly yet, so it'll look probably look a bit out of place, but put your bling there. I use these, the smallest size cane bender from tinypandora.com, to push my gems into place. It's perfect size, even though that's not what it's meant for. And there you can see how that would work, and it's so pretty. These dots, you would do whatever you want. I mean, I'll show you the ones I've made again because that's the best way of explaining. And that is just a good way to do it. Once you've finished, if you're using mica powders, I might have just done these in purple, as I say, but I've done them in gold for your benefit. But if you're using mica powders, and if I used gold clay, I would use mica powders for the simple reason that gold clay is never as shiny as you want it to be, or as I want it to be. Just get a little bit on your finger and just run it along those. I've gone a bit mad there. Sort of burnish it in, polish it in, don't press too hard. And when the whole thing's done, that is then ready to go into the oven. And this time you will cook it according to the manufacturer's instructions all the way through. And you will finish up with something like this. And I used two different coloured mica powders on there just to give it a bit more interest. I used the one that I used on the body, and I blended it with gold. Now, what if we didn't use mica powders? What if we just used one colour of clay and we want to make it interesting now? This is where the tutorial could fall apart. Because here's one I made earlier, and I am going to attempt to antique it. I find antiquing the most nerve-wracking thing in the world. This is the effect of antiquing. It darkens up the colour, it makes a lot of black around the details. It really gives such mood to a piece, you know. It's really impressive if it goes right. But it is terrifying because you've got to paint your work black. So, or with a darker colour. I use black, so I'm hardcore. So I'm getting ready with a baby wipe and some tissues. Dear, I may not do the whole thing because I don't think my nerves could stand it. This is my black paint. I will not need that much, but there you go. I'm using Reeves acrylic paint. Oh, where is my brush? Ah, I dropped the brush. I'm so nervous. I hate this. Squirting water everywhere because I want a bit of water in it. And I'm going to get black paint and paint it onto my work. Now, acrylic paint comes off with a dry kitchen roll. It comes off with baby wipe. And if you really, really hate it, you can get it off with rubbing alcohol. So, but it's still scary. So here we have our eye, and it looks kind of nice, but it also looks kind of bland. So we paint it black. Get it into all the cracks, all the details. Oh my goodness, I hate doing this. I've got mine quite thick. It's possible that you don't need it this thick, but I'm just mad. Okay, and here we are, and we're painting it even on the sides, trying to get it into all those little scales that I made. Scrub it in. Do not do too much in one go, because as soon as this baby starts to dry, it's going to be a nightmare to get off. So have I undermined you enough that you've decided you're never ever going to antique anything ever? And then using a dry cloth, you wipe it off, and I'm going to wipe it in the direction of these scales because I don't want to wipe it off them completely. Wipe around here. And I think you can see what's happening. It looks kind of grubby, but what it's done is it has antiqued that eye and made it look different. And it's just given it so much more kind of flavour. And if you really want to take more off, you can use a baby wipe. But you know, there's no point in undoing everything you've done. And this will give definition to the decoration. It gives definition to the scales on the side. And it's just a really fun way of changing what you've made into something more dramatic. Now, obviously that's dulled it down a lot. So the next thing we need to do is to highlight it again. Now, you would wait for this to dry before highlighting it. You'd probably also take off some more of the black. But we don't have all day. So I'm just giving you a taste of what it looks like when you highlight it. You can use dry brushing, which is a method. What on earth is in there? I've just discovered some liquid clay. Whoops. Let's do it in a different one. You can use dry brushing, which is a method of just getting an old brush really and getting the paint and almost wiping off the brush again and then dusting it over the details like this, which catches all the highlights. I don't know if you can see that. That's one thing you can do. With this, I am going to just go a bit extra mad and actually put quite a lot of the gold onto these top details because I want to really pick them out. I don't want them to just have a slight highlight on them. So I've gone pretty crazy on them. In fact, I've gone a bit too crazy because it's gone on the end. So not a perfect demonstration. But I think I've given you some idea of what it's like to antique something. I'm so nervous doing this. It's always a really nervous thing for me, but you know, I do it a lot because it looks so incredibly impressive. Okay, so there is a half antiqued eye. There's the fully antiqued eye, and there is one which we've simply done with mica powders, which is a lot less nerve-wracking. Now let me just see if there's anything else I need to tell you. Oh yeah, you need to glaze. Once you've finished, you'll want to glaze your work. I use Americana Duraclear gloss varnish. I live in the UK, and that is a good one that I can get hold of. You might want to use Fimo glaze. There are other things that people use in America. If you look on the Blue Bottle Tree website, there are Blue Bottle Tree, get it right. That is gives you very good advice on glazing, much better than I could now. But those ones that I showed you are perfect. Okay, thank you very much for watching. If you've got any comments or questions, do leave them down below. If you enjoyed this, like, subscribe, give me a big thumbs up, whatever, and don't forget to check out Geek Lightful. Thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.